Okay, I have chosen my colors for my Bargello quilt, and I have to say, I sort of copied. I was in a bit of a quandary because I didn't really want to do a rainbow color, ombre looking traditional Bargello. So I went online, and as I said, most of my experience of this Bargello tutorial, or whatever this is taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there. But I really wanted to, as you know, I didn't really want to make this, but I love this. I love this look. And the quilt that is online is shades of blacks, greens, pinks, and whites. And so from my stash, I have chosen these colors that you'll be seeing now from now on. The two black prints. Now what I hopefully, because I haven't made it yet, I have sort of thought the print fabric can't be too busy. But you're saying, well, those two are really busy. But the majority aren't. The majority almost read as solid. And that's where I believe that that wave pattern will come in to, with a little bit of interest, with a little bit of a more of a pattern. Hopefully that's how it's going to turn out. Hopefully. But like when I come back, what do I always say? What does it read as? I have a little pop of black up there, black print, and then it pretty much reads whites, greens, and pinks, and back down to the black, which, oops, excuse me, my shadow, which is what I think I want. I've chosen 20 fabrics, and now I'm going to try to figure out my cutting. Of course, you can use jelly rolls, but yeah, but I'm gonna come back to you after I figure out the size I believe that I want to make, or why I want to make it, and then the cutting instructions. I have 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20 fabrics, which sort of pop. They blend and then they pop, and then they blend and then they pop, which is, I think, what a Bargello wants to be doing. I've chosen, as you saw, all of my fabric, my 20 different colored fabrics, from blacks to grays to whites to greens to pinks back to black. And what I've done is I have cut from those fabric, I've cut 2.5-inch strips, 20 2.5-inch strips, and I've done that 4 times. So I've cut 4 strips out of each fabric. So right here are 80 strips of fabric. Now, I believe I've told you, well, I will tell you in the beginning of this tutorial, that a lot of Bargello quilt tutorials that I've seen call for using a jelly roll, which makes a lot of sense because they're pre-cut strips. You can get jelly rolls with, as I was saying, with the not the variegated, but the light to the dark, and that's the whole point of this quilt. If you wanted it, as I said before, I didn't want this. I wanted a specific colorway. I wanted the black and the white and the green and the pink. With, as you see, this dark green will pop, the black will pop, the white will pop, and this hot pink will pop. Making the wave pattern, hopefully. I haven't made it yet, have I? But the reason I did 80 strips of the fabrics, the 20 fabrics, is the size. I was trying to decipher and figure out the size of this, the size that this quilt will be, and quite a lot of them are lap size quilts using 1 jelly roll. Now this would be 1 jelly roll, 40 or 42 strips. I've chosen to use, as it were, 2 jelly rolls, 80 strips of fabric, because I figure if a jelly roll yields a throw size quilt, then maybe two jelly rolls, as it were, or 80 strips will yield a fairly decent size quilt, maybe a full size, a double size quilt, a large twin. We shall see. I'm not quite sure. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to now sew my 4 strips together, my 4 sets of strips together into a strip set. I'm going to do it the exact same way. Now, if you keep it this way, if you keep it like this, perhaps maybe taking each strip set over to a table and being careful with them. This is the organization that you do need. That is obvious in a Bargello quilt, obvious. So I have mine all laid out nicely and neatly. I will probably, because I have a large table here, I'll probably just take them over to my sewing machine, and I'll just grab these 20 strips and sew them. Now, just as in a jelly roll, you sew your strips up one length and down the other. And I'm going to be doing to make sure that they don't curve and that it doesn't bow, that nasty bowing. So I'm going to sew up one side and down the other. Oh, here, my camera battery is running out. I got to change my battery. All right, hold on. Yeah, thank you. I just changed my battery. So now what I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to sew together very carefully. And this is, I am going to be precise as I am anyway, the 1/4 inch seam. Very important that I sew the 1/4 inch seam on my strip set, alternating so I don't get that nasty bow, as I said. I'm going to be doing that. I'll come back and I'll show you one, and then I'm going to be finishing up my 4 strip sets, identical as they are. So I'm going to be doing that now. I'm going to be sewing my strip sets, my strips together, all 20 of them. Okay, so here I am over at my sewing machine, and I've actually just sewn 10 of my strips together. And I've taken them very carefully over from my cutting board over there. And this is the first of my 4 strip sets, which are just going to be sewn identical. I have my black all the way down to my other black, which I've shown you. My blacks, my grays, my whites, my pinks, and now my greens. I've sewn 10 of my strips together. And after the 10, I took it over to my ironing board. And I'll show you again when I take it back over to my ironing board. Very simple. You sort of just want to press and iron the strip set as it goes. It's sort of every other set. You just want to, this one goes in, this one goes in, these go out. But it's very, very simple. I'll show you. Now, I was saying it's a very simple method, but there's 2 things: your 1/4 inch seam, which I keep telling you is important, and your ironing. After that, it's a very, very simple construction, but you want to get that right. And along with that, you want to get your strip set without that silly curve that when you sew a jelly roll together, you're thinking, oh, here I am, I'll just sew one strip after another. This is what I was saying. As you can see, this is nice and straight. Now, I'm going to take my next strip, and I'm going to just put it on top. You don't really have to worry about the top or the edges of this project here, because this gets trimmed off. And anyway, fabric is 42 inches, 44 inches. It's all different. So don't worry about that. Just sort of in the general vicinity. Now, I don't use pins, as you know, but when I'm sewing a strip to another strip, I literally just I just keep this top strip nice and relaxed, put it on the top, match up my edges, and then sort of hold it anchored there every 6 inches or so. Just relax it. What I'm saying is I'm not pulling this. Your tendency is to want to pull it and straighten it. Just keep it lovely and loose. Lovely and loose. You will get no bowing, no pulling. I have my 1/4 inch seam, my 1/4 inch foot. I'm just laying this, keeping everything right in front of me as I do. My strips are nice and straight right in front of me. What do I always say? Sit right in front of the machine. Even your casters on your sewing machine chair can have a difference. Make sure you're comfortable sitting right in front of your machine, and you can whiz along. This is all nice to the side. This is all right in front of you, all relaxed. And off. No pins or anything. Now, what I want to do is I want to turn this over like that with all of the raw seams, all of the seams. I want to pull out what I just sewed. And oops, I just have to re-thread that. Just a minute. I'm going to rethread it. Now yes, I have an automatic threader, but I don't. There you go. It's quicker for me to do it that way. But I don't use my automatic threader. So this is the last one I did. Now I'm going to pull from my pile over here, and I'm going to do the right sides of this next one on the bottom. Just lining that up. That was a little bit wrinkled. Just lining it up, doing the exact same thing. Get that started, and then with this part, I'm just going to keep it nice and loose on that bottom strip. Just keep everything loose. Everything loose and straight in front of you. Sort of anchor it. Now, as you know, I cut my own strips. And so these aren't pre-cuts. And then, just everything is lovely and loose. Right in front of me. Now this was a long strip that I cut, because this was very wide fabric. So I come to the end, and as you can see, there's a little bit left over. I'll just cut that off there. Now I'll do the exact same thing. I won't bore you, but I'll lift this up. I'll come over to my pile that's right next to me, and I'll take this and I'll sew it right down, starting there, and I'll sew it. Well, I will show you how I'll do this one, and then I just want to show you how quick. Everybody says, oh, Bargello is easy, easy, easy. This is very easy. Making your strip set is very easy. If you do it properly, don't pull, don't curl it. But then in 1 second, when I'm done this, I'll just show you what I mean about how the importance when we go to subcut this and then put it together, the importance of how important it is to iron it. Keeping everything straight, loose. And again, that was a little bit longer, and I just cut that off there. So now I'm just going to get my camera over to my ironing board, and I'll show you how I'm going to press this. I bought it back from my sewing machine, and I'm at my ironing tape, my ironing board, and I'm very, very carefully smoothing it as straight as I can. I've done this, I've done the other ends, I've done all of the greens and the blacks, and I've just attached my pinks. Now I do use a spray bottle with water in it. I'm just going to spray it lightly. And as I was saying, you can see where the seams want to be pressed to. You can see, you can sort of just nudge the seams, roll one over this way, roll one over that way. And then you sort of skip this one, and then you go to the next one here, and that one gets nudged. You go right down the middle of the next one. You just sort of nudge that right over. So one goes in, one goes out. You just want to nudge that over. I'm just doing about 2/3 of this along the length of my board. I'll go back and do that end, and I'll go back and finish that up. But as you can see, the seams, sometimes they get pressed. You want to just go back and you want to just make sure they're facing each other. They're away from each other and they're facing each other. Now the patterns, so say like do odd numbers and odd rows and even rows. I don't know what that's all about. But this makes sense. As I was saying before, I have made one more in an experimental, and this really works. There's this is a design your own Bargello, but this part is very important. Again, keeping this nice and straight. Now my next one, the point is right between these two. Oh no. This is going this way. Where am I going? I want to push this one over. That's right. That one's open. That's right, that one's open. And now I'm skipping it, and I'm coming here. I'm coming on this one, and I'm nudging this open. You see that? So it is every other one. You'll get the hang of it. There you go. And then you just want to nudge that. So they sort of lay like train tracks. Do you see? They're sort of up, and this is down. This is sort of up, and that's down. That's how I'm visualizing it. These are lovely and nice, sort of flattened train tracks like that. Very, very important, this step. I'll spritz it a little bit. I've come to my end. Move that along, and I figure out that this one wants to meet that one. So I'm just pulling this along, straightening it all up, keeping it nice and flat. And this is sort of the inner one. If you can see that. Some of them get a little bit wonky. You want to go back. You just want to flatten them down where they want to go. In, out, in, out, in, out. Oops, that one keeps jumping up. Now I just turn it around. I've done my whole 20 strips. And I just want to keep it as straight as possible. So I'm dealing with this right now. Excuse me if I'm in with my camera's way. Just doing this. I've done this lovely. Everything's lovely and straight. Just a little bit more spritz. You can see them figuring out, trying to where they want to go. So this one goes this way, open, and then I skip, and this one gets nudged over and opened. Just sort of pulling that along, straightening it out. Nice hot iron. This one's gotten opened. This, take your time doing. It'll make the world of difference to your quilt. Now we're almost done, and it's this one. It's these two seams that are getting opened. I'm pulling that along, nudging that one over and this one over. And then my very last seam gets my arm's in the way, but gets pushed towards me. It gets rolled in right towards me. Now, oops, I'm going to go back and just make sure everything's nice and flat. And then, when you go to iron it, you have 20 perfectly straight, lovely. You can feel the seams are where they want to be, where they've gone. And this is a jelly roll. There, you are making a jelly roll quilt. This is, if you sewed another 20 strips, you have a 42-inch by however long jelly roll quilt. This, to me, for the Bargello, is the most important. The cutting is going to be the fun part, I think. Hopefully. I don't know. But hopefully you'll have seen this quilt, but I'm in the process of making it. So this is my strip set, which I am now going to make 3 more. This is working up very quickly, let me tell you. Very, very quickly. So I'm just going to finish this up and then make my 3 more strip sets. I'm just putting my strip sets together, and I just had to come back and correct something. I'm such a silly. I was counting this. I was looking at my video counting this, and I counted 20, right? I didn't. It was wrong. I counted, there was 19, because I came to put them together, and I actually had to, had to add a green. Isn't that funny? But there's also one thing just want to show you what I've done here. Basically, when you come back, and remember I always say squint, you see black, white, green, and pink. Now it's important when you're making up your strip sets, if you're going to be doing it like this, with the 20 strips, I basically have five strips of 4 colors. And it's important, if you're doing it this way with such a contrast, that your first strip, which is this black and white, number 1, which we're not labeling, but you know that's number 1, and your last strip, black strip 20, are similar. Now, in an ombre or in a color wash or in a rainbow, maybe that's not going to make a difference. But to my mind, the first strip and the last strip in your strip set, because we're going to be sewing the tube together, makes sense. And then you have, if you notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blacks, and then we have 1, 2, 1, 2, let me see, let me get my ugly hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pinks. And then for lack of better, this little gray I'm counting as a green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 greens. And then my whites is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, my hands were in the way. But trust me, I have 5 each print, each color, for four different colorways. And then, just as I said, just if you're doing it this way with such defined colors, but you still want them to fade from dark to light, that's what I've done. You see my dark green to my lighter green, my dark pink to my lighter pink, my white to my whiter white, as it were. So hopefully this will turn out. But that's just a little thought. So strip number 1, if you're doing a strip set of 20, and your last strip should be similar, if you want. Now what we have here, I've taken several hours and I've sewn my strip sets together. And I have 4 identical strip sets. And this is how they've turned out. For lack of better, I'm putting my black up there, and I'm coming down my black, my whites, my greens, my pinks, and back to my blacks. Because as I said, when we were choosing our fabrics, I want number 1, as it were, and number 20, we have 20, to sort of coordinate or to match. If you have a black and a white, you're going to have a definite mark at the beginning and the end of the middle of your quilt. So these sort of coordinate, the first one and the last one. That's pretty much the numbering that you're going to be doing, really. So I'm going to take this strip set, and I'm going to sort of hold it by the bottom seam here, halfway through, number 10, or halfway through. I'm not even worried about the numbers, because right now what we're going to do is, if you notice, I'm just going to smooth this up. What we're going to do is we're going to sew the top edges, raw edges together of the bottom strip set, the bottom strip, and the top strip. Now you will see and you will notice that, let me get these out of the way, you will notice that as I smooth everything up, the most important thing here, let me see if that's in the frame. Yeah, the most important is this line here, okay? And you're just going to sort of pull this up, and it matches, the top edge matches pretty nicely. You can pin it if you want, just as it lays. Now, just as it lays. And you're going to say, well, this edge here is all, look, it's all messed up. That is fine. And you're going to say, well, look, this edge doesn't match up. That is absolutely fine. Do not worry about the edges. What you want to do, and if you want to pin it, where's my pins? If you want to pin it, as you take this over to your machine, you're just making sure everything is nice and straight, and where the tube, which we're making, actually lands with the fabric going lovely and straight right across. You're not worrying about the edges right now. And then, of course, if you want to pick it up like that, matching these edges here. Whoops, I got 2 pins. You want to pick it up like that, and then you're going to take this over, match these up real nice. You're going to take it over to your machine, and you're going to sew 1/4 inch at the top of this tube. You don't worry about the ends here. You just sort of go off that end, and then you just sort of start wherever over here. You're going to do that on all 4 strip sets. The most important thing is nothing is twisted. The fabric is going the way it wants to go, and you are just sewing that top seam 1/4 of an inch. You're going to do that on all, let me see if I can show you, on all 4 strip sets, exactly the same. I've just sewn this top edge, this black and this black. Doesn't take, I mean, you can keep track of it. That's my first one, that's my last one. I've just sewn that together. I'm doing that on all 4, and I've just sort of, it's like a tube, okay? I've sort of threaded it along on my ironing board, and look, my seams are going the exact direction. This used to be at the very top, this was at the bottom. I've put them together, and my seams, if you can see, they're sort of what I was saying. There's sort of my raised railroad track, and there's the track under, there's the, you know, the ditch. And these are all raised. So that's exactly, when I just iron this one seam, that's exactly what we want. Now I'm just going to pull it off my ironing board and do it again, and we're going to have a tube. We're going to have 4 tubes of strip sets.